Hello everyone and welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. My name is Stefan. Thanks for coming to my channel. I wanted to talk to you about one of my favorite things in this hobby. I started putting plants, house plants, clippings from pothos in my aquarium. I guess I was inspired by one of you out there, and I've been doing it for years now in all different kinds of setups, even my most high-tech ones, which kind of violates the pristine nature of those setups in some respects, but in a bigger way, I think it adds to the lush quality of my aquariums and by definition your aquariums as well. There's something so natural feeling about seeing plants coming from in and out of your tank, enveloping it, if you will, much like these pothos vines are doing for this 12-gallon Lifeguard Aquatics. Kind of an unusual size, but it's a neat footprint, and it's the biggest one I could put in between the two risers on my racking system and still be able to get into the tank, get my hands in the tank, as my de facto tagline states. And if you are reckless and try to go for the biggest size possible without bearing in mind the room you will need to work on your fish tank, let alone get behind it, you will have problems. I actually had a bigger cube, I think a 15-gallon cube that technically fit between the two risers, but it went too high and I put it in there empty just to have a look-see, and sure enough there was only a few inches of clearance, and that simply was a deal breaker. I returned the tank, drove it all the way back to where I got it, and got the next size smaller, which is this 12-gallon. And I stand corrected, it's not Lifeguard Aquatics. This is an SR Aquaristic fish tank. I don't know why I said Lifeguard. I guess I own another one of their aquariums and I just made a mistake. SRA or SR Aquaristic is really a super company. They're out of Elgin, Illinois, and they have a website. You can order these at a very competitive price, and they're super well made, low iron glass, and they have what's called the German seal, which is a seamless black strip instead of clear caulking, so it never discolors, and it has just a sharp vibe to it. But I digress. I was talking about one of my favorite things in the aquascaping hobby, which is plants that grow above, out of the water. I always want to say immersed, but that means below ground. So I get so confused with submersed, immersed, emerged, submerged, and I don't want to misspeak. I already did an entire video about misspeaking and saying one word when I mean another. Maybe I'm dyslexic that way. Be that as it may, these pothos vines, while I have guided them when they were much, much smaller, sort of pointed them in a specific direction, I exercise a great deal of patience and allow nature to do what it does. And so this curvature, which winds just so beautifully, creating that elliptical sweeping, kind of like the Nike logo, and then it drapes and sets and rests along the riser here, and then starts to grow back up where it would meet, at least aesthetically, this lily that I have growing inside the tank, and continue that curve, which is also accentuated by the bogwood inside the aquarium, sort of pointing your eyes up and out of the tank to this piece of wood, which has nothing to do with this piece of wood. but the illusion is that it just continues. And that to me is a grand illusion. I love it. And you can create so much depth and sense of timelessness and space. If you really want to create a pseudo biotope, you know, even a real biotope, which this is not. It's a biotope inspired aquarium, like so many an Amazonian inspiration. You see the big fat neon tetras, which by the way are so big and fat because I feed this tank live food to accommodate the, I believe, trio of these gorgeous fish, these licorice gouramis, which really only eat wet food, and I've only seen them eat live food. They're slow and sensitive, so I overfeed baby brine shrimp, and the lion's share goes to these big fatties. But I know that these guys get some because I've had them for almost 2 years now. There's some pygmy Coreodora in here as well, and some other fish. But I'm getting distracted again. This is about aquascaping, at least most of it is. And in particular, how you can create a wonderful illusion of that riverbank or the side of a small inland lake, a tributary, a puddle during the dry season where fish are trapped and congregate. Neons definitely are culpable in that way in the wild. The root systems, this also beguiles me. I just love the way those roots look in this particular tank, especially with the background light I have. That's the UNS Atmos, and I have it set for, well, you can see with your eyes, it looks like a sunset color or a tannin color. I don't get too many tannins in here anymore, although I do continuously add botanicals, but more sparingly. I did want to see all the fish in here, and so over time the licorice gouramis, which love a acidic tank, have grown accustomed to ever so slightly higher pH. I'd say this tank is about neutral, 7.0, 7.2, sometimes 6.8. Really an ideal pH for this particular tank. And honestly, all of my tanks would thrive under that parameter, at least under, you know, when we're talking about pH. The Anubias does very well in the low light, and while that's a strong light, much of its par is being blocked by the floating Sylvinia and the big leaves of the lily here, let alone all the pothos leaves, which inevitably will grow up. And you see how that one has some burn marks on it. It's too close to the light, but pothos is a big boy, it can handle it. So when that leaf just browns out, I'll snip it, and that'll free up a little bit more light to hit the tank, but then another leaf will take its place over there. But that curvature, as I move the camera, in a way, when I look at this tank, that's what my eyeballs do, and it's not dizzying, it's appealing. I find it to be wonderfully appealing, and I hope you do too. And inside the aquarium, in terms of continuing that fantasy, the Anubias plants, which were wedged between the bogwood and this petrified wood a long time ago. There's some Bartiera or Coffeola, Nana, Petite, I forget. There's at least 2 or 3 of the 4 I just mentioned in here. And then Cryptocorn parva, the smallest crypt you can buy, forms this wonderful pseudo carpet. You can see through it, but yet it's uniform I just think Cryptarba is a lovely plant. And if you don't want to deal with some of the hassles of, and big time hassles of keeping, say, Monte Carlo or dwarf hairgrass, all the trimming, all the issues that go with it, I never, ever deal with Cryptarba. Once I planted a whole bunch of them in here 2 years ago, I haven't touched it. I haven't cut one, I haven't moved one. It's just gradually become this wonderful carpet of sorts where I can still see the botanicals, the snails, the occasional shrimp, the pygmy Coreodora, the licorice gourami. If it was a totally green carpet, well, that would be wonderful. I'd have to change the concept of this aquarium. It would no longer be biotope inspired. It would just be a planted tank. Excuse me, a high-tech planted tank. And I wanted to keep this one a little bit more rugged, au naturel. To that end, I just have this small hang-on back filter, very inexpensive, 10, 12 bucks on Amazon or Etsy, probably anywhere and everywhere. It's a Chinese knockoff. It doesn't even matter what name it is. You see the Chinese letters there. They're all essentially the same template, the same motor, but that's all. And I don't even have it turned all the way up. There's a pre-filter in case I have any shrimplets. The licorice gouramis have kept the shrimp population down, and even the neons will pick off babies. Here's a fun fact. When I clean the filters, the canister filters on my other bigger tanks, I always find baby Neocaridina, sometimes 20 to 40 of them, and I take the time to catch them out and put them in a little dish, and I float that dish in here at nighttime, and then I release them all, and I assume the neons would pick them off promptly if they could see them. I don't assume, I know they would, but I assume that in the dark, while the neons are resting, they will make it down into this hardscape and under the plants, and then the slow-moving licorice gouramis would be able to pick them off as an excellent part of their diet. You can see the silhouette of a licorice gourami. It looks just like a dead leaf caught in the roots there. And that's part of the illusion of nature. That's what it does in nature to avoid predation upon itself. And you can see it replicated in this particular aquarium. So many of you use pothos and other, I'll call them house plants or terrarium plants in your aquascapes. And I love that. I need to expand my horizon, but I've had such good fortune with the different kinds of pothos that it dominates all of my out of water growth, because it's such a proven commodity. And there's so many different kinds of pothos and in different conditions, both from the water it gets in your aquarium and the light source. It always looks different. Like here's one kind of leaf, and there's all variegated with white. Now that one has some of the burn I talk about, but yet there's new growth as well. And then this is essentially the same pothos coming from this aquarium over here, but that leaf looks a whole lot different, almost like a rubber tree. And it's really all the same plants. Home Depot, you can get them, small little plastic pot for $4.99, $5.99, etc. But I like to train them ever so slightly to do what I am showing you here. That upward tilt, I just think that's beautiful. Beautiful and badass. Here you see a couple river stones and some pods. Yeah, I've got a tank and some wires here. It's the illusion. I'm not a perfectionist, and I can't be, not in a crowded fish room, but you do what you can to maintain, well, first to create and then to maintain the illusion. And decorating your aquarium on the outside, both with dead found objects like these old pea pods and river stones, hanging a piece of driftwood like that piece there, which is really just in between the riser and the aquarium, but it does look like it's coming out from this fallen tree here that's breaking down in the water. All that is fantasy, and it's one of the reasons, one of the big reasons why I love this hobby, and I hope you do too. I hope you find this inspirational, or you're nodding your head like I do that too, or I want to do that as well, because I can find no fault. No fault. I haven't even talked about the potential for the roots to help filter the aquarium, which they do. Some people debate, you know, how many nitrates they remove, if any, but it doesn't matter because it's a win-win. Even if they didn't, it's still a wonderful, beautiful effect for your planted aquarium. So I recall a year or two ago, everyone was debating the value of pothos as a filtering media, if you will. And I kept on commenting, it doesn't matter, it looks awesome. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt anything, and it might very well help. And if all things are equal, it looks terrific. Just like Anubias. Anubias doesn't remove any nitrates from your water. It's so slow growing. It's the aesthetic. It's beautiful. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. Please comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I promise I'll answer you if you ask a question. And as always, keep your hands in the tank, albeit carefully. And ciao for now.